Welcome to the second edition of my State of the Collection 2021, covering my analog watches. If you're interested in my digital watches, I've done a separate video on that, so feel free to go over and view it. So let's get into it. First of many Seikos you'll see today is my 6105-8110, or Captain Willard, which I got from my dad. It was actually his dive watch from all the way back in the 70s. I got it fixed relatively recently by Rexworthy Watches up around the northeast area. Really pleased with the job he did there. I've actually changed it from the waffle strap, which I got from Uncle Seiko, onto this H-Link bracelet, which is also from Uncle Seiko, which I really like. One of my favourite watches. The second Seiko in my analog collection is this kind of mini version of the tuner, which is the urban or camo version. I actually changed out the strap. I didn't like it, and I changed it onto this strap tailor strap, which was my first time using them. I'm quite pleased with it. So really good dimensions for the smaller wrist if you can't pull off the larger size tuner. The third in my Seiko collection is another inheritance from my dad. Not the most attractive, but really special to me, is my SQ50 Seiko Kinetic titanium. I actually did a whole video where I explored deep into the depths of the history of the whole Seiko Kinetic, which really gave me a new appreciation for the technology that sits behind it. It's a really interesting history, so do go over and check out that video. Another of my Quartz Seikos, this is actually a vintage model from the 70s actually, is this Lord Seiko, which just kind of sits below the Grand Seiko and King Seiko within the series they had at the time. It's kind of a watch for middle management, and I really like this one. I actually use it as my dress watch, even though it's a very cheap watch to acquire. Just got it off eBay. Really pleased with this one, and a nice one that not too many people know about. So yeah, Lord Quartz can be a nice cheap Seiko to look at. Here's my total ridiculous Blingmaster, which I actually changed to be even more blingy with a strap code Jubilee bracelet. It's got a little bit of reflection that kind of annoys me. I think I probably need to change out the crystal and get some AR coating on there. It's got an exhibition case pack to see that pretty basic Seiko movement. This is just a Seiko 5. Love this one. It kind of looks a bit drug dealery, but it's a very cool and fun watch. I saw that Adam Swords of producer Michael fame also bought one of these recently and really enjoys it. He likes his G-Shocks too. This one is probably the one that most people are impressed with in my collection, which is my Beams edition version of the Seiko Ripley. This is the SCED series, famously designed by Giugiaro, one of the coolest designers there is going. He did a whole series of watches with Seiko, and these are very sought after. The urban gentry really triggered a whole bunch of people, including myself, onto this series. The pushers on the side there and the asymmetrical design, just so cool. Next, one of my real obsessions that I've had of late, which is Lip watches, which is a French watchmaker from Besançon. An incredible history that goes back quite a way, actually. Really recommend going over and watching my video on this. I was quite pleased with it. It's not watched too much, so I think a lot of people will get the same joy as I did out of it. This is the Nautic Ski, which is their diver. This was a part of them sponsoring the Winter Olympics, which is why they've combined together skiing and nautical, which is probably a strange one. It's a super compressor, so it has that internal rotating bezel. Next up, we have Nodus. Obviously, I now know this is named after some of the technology that sits behind sundials from back in the day. Nodus is over from the US. This is the Contrail 39, so great for the slim-wristed such as me. I've only got 6¼ inch wrist. You can see there on the back, a really nice design. Good dimensions and nice strap as well. Really like the texture pattern that you have on the dial. Been very pleased with Nodus, so definitely a series that I'll continue to look at. I like their Sector series as well. Next up, which was very much inspired by my deep dive into British watches, so please do go and check that series. Britain had a better history for watches than you might imagine, considering that we're limited now to kind of Braymont and Christopher Ward, amongst others. But this is Mr. Jones, the Ascendant series, which is amongst a whole range of different watches that they do with funky dials. Next, we have an Australian watch manufacturer, which is Matthew & Sons, with their amazing new design, which is the Irukandji, as it was kind of expressed by the Mad Watch Collector. I have it in purple, and you can see a picture of the jellyfish that the Irukandji is named after on the back. I tend to wear mine on the more material strap. It does also come with a very cool bracelet. Really unique design, the Irukandji, because of its look like a jellyfish when you hold it on the side. Next up, we have my only Hamilton actually, which is a quartz. This is the Hamilton Khaki Quartz, which was a gift from my wife for our wedding. The dimensions a little bit big for me, but I do occasionally wear it now and again. Lots of nice memories associated with this one. Not a bad effort from my wife to choose this one, considering she wasn't so much into watches at the time, so I'm really pleased with this one. So it gets the occasional wear out. Next up, I think every watch collector has to have a Seagull 1963. Just a classic chronograph, absolutely cheap as chips. The strap that I've put on this one probably costs about the same amount as the watch itself, with just that Seagull column wheel chronograph movement there in the back. I just don't think you can get a mechanical chronograph at this value anywhere else other than using one of these Seagull movements. I love this one, occasionally use it as a dress watch, although it's a bit weird to use a chronograph for that purpose. Finally, we have probably the most valuable watch in my collection, which is my Oris green dialed big crown, because of the big crown there for pilots spinning it back in the day. Pointer date, which is one of the coolest complications. Obviously it's in bronze, and you can see mine is nicely patinaed now. I definitely love the bronze look. Obviously Oris started doing the in-house movements now, but this uses the Salita movement with their famous red rotor. This is on a lovely Monstraps olive green strap. The original perished very quickly actually, which is something you should watch for if you get this watch. And that's all for this edition of my State of the Collection Analog 2021. If you enjoyed this, please do consider liking and subscribing as well. I think you'll probably enjoy some of the rest of my content. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.